Welcome to my room! So I'm 31 and finally moving out of my parents' place, and I thought that this would be a beautiful time to close the end of a chapter and capture it by documenting the state of my room as it is right now. I am really proud of her, and it's something that I've built over the last decade. And it took so long because I spent some of the first few years in resistance thinking that I was going to be home for a very short period, and so I didn't want to invest in the space at all. My parents bought this house secondhand, and the walls came in these colors, and we just never bothered to repaint them. So the walls are not of my choice. And for so long, I kept rearranging my room, redecorating it. And it wasn't until the last year or so that I felt like this is it. I love her, and there's nothing else I want to do. And if you know me as someone who loves change and novelty, it's a very strange sensation to reach a point of complete satisfaction. So, without further ado, let's go check her out. The reason why I started investing in my room is because my little sister insisted that I get a proper desk. Prior to this desk that I'm using now, which we bought from IKEA, I was using like a tiny vanity desk to work on. It was literally the width of my laptop, so you could just put your laptop on it, and it had also these like tiny drawers, which I would pull out to extend space, and I would put like a plank on top of the drawers to be able to put my journal on to write. And I know that that's quite ridiculous, and my sister was so tired of seeing me make myself more miserable than necessary that she's insisted that we go to IKEA and buy a proper desk for me. It was the sweetest thing ever, and it felt really strange because she's my younger sister, and I don't know if it's just being Asian or what, but I always feel responsible for her, so I couldn't fathom her buying something for me. And you know how expensive furniture is, right? I don't think she knew how expensive furniture was at that time in her life. So after going back and forth, I agreed that we would split the table. Like I would pay for half of it and she would pay for half of it. And we got this table, which is nice and wide. And I went with two different legs on either side because I wanted a shelf on the right side to be able to stuff some books. And then later I was able to thrift this monitor stand that also comes with a little drawer, which is great for organization. And having this desk was a game changer because once I invested in the desk, I realized that I could invest in other things. The art on the walls around my desk are primarily a mix of free posters that I've picked up on travels, and then my art as well as the art of friends. This centerpiece is a vision board I made on my 31st birthday. This poster was an ad for this game that I picked up in Japan when I was traveling with my sister and husband, and I just loved how colorful it is. I'm familiar with this character, but I don't know anything about the universe, and I didn't even have a Switch at that time, so I just like picked it up off the streets and was just like, I'm gonna keep this. I painted this. I picked up this print from a friend's workshop when I was visiting Mexico City and partially living there. This piece I actually commissioned my friend Kelly for back when she was in her painting era during the pandemic. If you can't tell, I love primary colors, and I feel like that's a foundation for this room. I do get a lot of compliments about my chair. It's an ergonomic chair that forces you to sit upright, and I first discovered this. I had booked an Airbnb for my husband's birthday, and I remember when we got to the Airbnb, they had a similar chair to this, and I had no idea how to sit in it. But after I realized that this was a thing, that this was a possible chair design, I thought, like, that's what I want in my home office. By the way, yes, these are little sunny angels that my husband and I painted when we were visiting friends in Mexico City, and my friend had this idea of gifting us all these Sunny Angel blind boxes and painting them on an art picnic, and it was so fun, and now they just accompany me when I am working at my desk. Got an ad on Instagram about one of those standing desks being able to go all the way down to the ground. So the person in the ad was sitting on the ground, and I thought like, wow, that's a great idea. I love sitting on the floor. So I have this leftover coffee table from the first time I moved out of my parents' place to an apartment that was shared with a roommate, and we had bought this coffee table off of Wayfair, and she didn't need the furniture after the move out, and I was like, sure, I'll take it. So I had it sitting in my closet for the longest time, but I decided to pull it out. And you know what the problem is with my desk now that you've seen it is that it faces a blank wall, but I am like a cat. I need to be able to look out the window. So this coffee table turned into my little artwork desk. I have my little plastic drawers with all my art supplies to the right of it so that's easily accessible. This was a thermos that was supposed to be shaped as a camera lens, but it didn't seal very well. I think I picked up this toolbox back when I was in college, and I had it in my dorm room, and I just love something about the rustic utility vibe of this, so it's just stuck around. And you'll also notice around my room I have a lot of these Lego flowers. I was obsessed with them maybe like a year or two back, just as like a way to do something with my hands off of screens, because I look at a screen a lot, not just for work, but then all my hobbies are also on the computer since I love like video editing, graphic design, and I just needed to find more analog hobbies. Okay, I am so proud of this gallery wall. Just like the gallery wall over my desk, it is a mismatch of things I've just collected, but I love her so much. I'll first start with this little handmade piece hanging by the window. This is actually something I weaved myself. I was taking a workshop hosted by a friend out in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, and I only made this one piece. I have a really bad habit of just like attending workshops, learning things once, and then never doing it again. I decided to make the pattern look like the ocean because I thought it would be like a cute way to remember Puerto Vallarta and the beaches there. As for the wall itself, I have two other pieces that I have personally created. These two are from an oil pastel workshop I did in Mexico City. This little poster guy from when I went to Japan winter 2023. Honestly, I only remember that I went to Japan that particular winter because it says it right here on the poster. And then I have a few of these photo prints that another friend sent me because he does these like cool urban photography. This is one of my favorite centerpieces, and it's a fold out poster for a bunch of events that are happening at Bosques de Chapultepec, Mexico City, La Ciudad de Mexico. I was about to like say in Spanish, the city of Mexico, La Ciudad de Mexico. I know the colors like are a little all over the place, but somehow it just comes together. This particular low bookshelf console situation is actually a very cheap IKEA TV console that I got in college to use as a shoe shelf, like at the entryway. I have never used it as a TV console. Now it's just serving as a miscellaneous shelf situation. This tiny bookshelf was actually the monitor stand I had prior to thrifting the one with the drawer that I showed you. Back here, this poster. This is actually gift wrap paper that I got from Kinokuniya. I also want to show you my cute little rugs. Maybe it's a bit chaotic to have a rug on carpet. I was just wondering how could I bring more silliness into my life, and they fit the theme. I like that they kind of remind me of stickers because they're cut out like this. It feels very cohesive with the collaginess of my walls. White Rabbit is a throwback to my childhood since it was a candy that I grew up with. My grandma would always give to me a piece of White Rabbit candy every time I came back from kindergarten. And then this little tiger dude, I just thought that he's really adorable. My sister and I call him Dumpy, which sounds really silly, but it's short for dumpling because he kind of looks like that shape. It is actually a shelf slash external wardrobe that I bought off of Amazon, and I think I was playing with this just to have a way to display some of my clothes outside, but as you can tell, I don't hang any clothes on it. And I think that the theme for my room is using things in a way that they are not intended. Because I have quite a few of those examples. I want to talk about these little Milo trucks. I have them scattered around my room because my family from Malaysia brought these back as like collectibles, and my sister had them stuffed in the boxes in her closet. I'm a minimalist, but I've been trying to become a little more maximalist because I like the coziness of that vibe, and I just don't have that much stuff to create this aesthetic. So I went and like dug around her room. She's since moved out, so she's not using any of the things she's left behind. And I found these little collectible Milo trucks. It would make a great filler. So I just like threw them around my room, even though I'm not like a major fan of Milo or anything. But there are cultural references because it's important in Malaysia and my family is from Malaysia and I was born in Malaysia. So in some way it's like a nod to where I came from. Little display toy mini room that my friend bought me to create. So yeah, I had to like assemble this entire room and it was so fun. And there's something so joyful about having miniatures and all of these pieces are movable. So it's a toy within a toy. This black little good luck cat that I don't know how my dad acquired it. He's been in our house for as long as I can remember. He's the reason why I love black cats. I want to tell you about these bed sheets. I have never seen anything like this before, and I got them from Ross. I remember I was just perusing Ross and they caught my eyes for obvious reasons because all the other bed sheets and like duvet covers on display were very plain. And when I saw this, I was like, wow, so groovy. I love the like satin finish. You know what my brain said? It said, you don't need that. So I just like walked on, but it haunted me. It haunted me for like an entire night. And I went back the next day to see if they were still there. I was just telling myself as I was like entering Ross, like, if they're still there, then it was meant for you. And if they're no longer there and someone else had like picked it up, then it was not meant to be yours. And both outcomes are okay. But they were there, as you can see, how it elevates my room. It really adds to the playfulness. Oh yeah, I also want to talk about why of all the walls being covered, this one in particular is completely blank. It's because I bought this projector over the pandemic thinking that I would do a cool art project with it. I never did. And then it was just sitting in my closet, so I decided to pull it out. But I did used to have stuff on this wall. I had to pull it all down just so that I could have a blank wall to project on. And I honestly still don't use a projector enough, but I do love that I have the option because at night it's totally a vibe. If you're wondering, this is a little souvenir bat plushy keychain. It makes it really easy to pull the light switch when the room is dark and I'm just like feeling around. It's great to just like bump into him. But my friend in Singapore bought me this guy when we visited the Singapore Zoo together as like a little souvenir. That's why I have this here. In like a random stroke of inspiration, I thought that I wanted to redo the entire thing. Prior to the creation reorganization of it, it was just a normal closet, just full of clothes. But I had this idea that I wanted to feel like I was shopping my closet. So I did this like entire reorg. I think it took me a week or so of like working on it for about an hour every day to elevate it and decorate it in a way that does not feel so much like a closet, but like a boutique store that when you walk in has some decor on display and really makes you feel like, yeah, really gives me the I'm shopping in my own closet vibes. And that's my room. I'm honestly gonna miss her so much, but it's time for a change. The reason why I've been living with my parents for most of my 20s is because one, I I think I mentioned I had moved out previously, but then my parents insisted that I move back because they were so persistent on this idea that I needed to buy a home in my early 20s and that I should move home so I could save up for the deposit. But then I got a job that had me traveling constantly to Salt Lake City. I was never home in Dallas anyways. And then the pandemic happened and we were all working remotely, so it really didn't make any sense to get a place separately. Through having my job become remote, I decided to start digital nomading, so I wasn't even in Dallas like half the year because I would be, in Mexico City, in Peru, in Spain. Like, I was in Berlin one summer and then Portugal, and it just didn't make sense to pay double rent. But now that some other parts of my life has shifted and I'm feeling ready, I'm finally moving out. I'm so stoked to be able to do my level of decoration, but on a bigger scale, like including the kitchen, including the living room. I've been watching endless YouTube videos of like these extreme makeovers for tiny apartment studios because that's what I'm gonna be moving into. And I can't wait to bring you guys along on that journey as well, as I will be installing my new art studio slash new living arrangement and to create like a little sanctuary for myself where I can continue to practice my creativity. And I realized I've been blabbing this entire time without even introducing myself. So, hi, I'm Shani, and I'm a creative chimera who's building her dream multi-passionate life, doing a little bit of everything. And if that resonates with you, then we should be friends. So, with that, I would love to hear about some of your tips and tricks for home decor, especially renter friendly tips and tricks in the comments below. Until next time, bye!